Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Momunity podcast. We've been away for a while. Diane Tarantini is here with me, and I'm Kimberly King. In case you don't know me, we're both body safety educators, authors, and advocates, and we are fresh off of the 5WAVES first inaugural conference. And Diane was there leading our panel and was involved in the planning. And so we thought today we would do a little bit of like takeaways for people about this conference and about the topic. So Diane has a number of great takeaways we just wanted to share with you. So we'll try to keep it under 10 minutes and then we'll go from there. Or we can break it into two, Diane, if we have to.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So
Yeah.
what did you think? What did you take away from this? And tell us, first of all, tell us what the conference, like the name, the goals, and then take
Yes.
away.
So the Breaking the Silence conference was the first ever in the United States of America conference focused on the topic of sibling sexual trauma and abuse. And we wanted anyone, survivors, parents of survivors, clinicians, loved ones of survivors to come and attend to learn more about the topic. And I think it absolutely achieved that end.
100% from everybody I talked to, everybody loved it.
The one thing I took away, and Kimberly, you and I attended the Envision conference a few summers ago that was child safety. I've never been to a conference that was put on and featured and for people with lived experience of sexual harm. And
Yeah,
I
that
think
makes
that
me.
changed everything.
I agree. I mean, I've been to a few conferences too, and just the vibe of the entire conference was
Yes.
so trauma informed and gentle and super welcoming. I was
Yeah.
just like blown away with how
Yeah.
great that piece.
Yes, so many of these people, both you and I, had never met in person, like the
Yeah.
founders of 5WAVES and other survivors. So that was just a real treat. So that was the first thing, was the lived experience aspect was extraordinary. Highly recommend it. Um, One thing, this I was on the committee to vet the presenters, and this conference gave people an opportunity to tell their story, to talk about the advocacy work that they're doing. And one thing you and I know, and I think that this is why people came to our panel, is how you can do advocacy work to make lemonade out of the sour lemons
Yeah.
of your sexual harm experience. And I think that's it's not for everybody, but I do think it's something that can bring great healing and
Yeah,
joy.
and that's like a perfect segue for me because one of the biggest takeaways that I had, I invited a friend of mine, PJ, um, who was kind of, I guess, newly disclosed that he was a victim of harm by his sister. And so, he finally figured this out and was basically figuring out like why he had gone towards addiction problems and why he had struggled so long in his life. And it all kind of made sense to him. But, he was still pretty scared to like put it out there and then be around more people, didn't know what to expect. And he had like a life changing event just by going to this conference. And he's writing songs already about it. And he was just like, oh my God, I had no idea there were so many survivors that could be so supportive of each other. And I learned so much. I don't like, he was completely welcomed, felt so good, felt heard, and finally felt supported for the first time in his life, all in one day.
Wow. I had heard in advance of his possible presence. And when I saw him across the foyer, I literally yelled out to him and just like mother henned him into like the fold. And I hope that wasn't overwhelming for him, but I
Oh
just
no.
wanted him to know how very welcome he is and you're not alone. And I pointed him towards a session I really, really wanted him to attend. And yeah, it was great having him. Um, One thing I saw, and I know that you may not have experienced this as much as I did. We
Mhm.
did the first night, the communal meals
Yeah,
that one of our members, one of our volunteers had set up for both dinners the night before, night of, breakfast the morning after. Like that just was another way to connect in a whole different
yeah.
way.
It was amazing. I think for people to be in person, like because of COVID and because of the topic, I don't it's just been difficult to get people together in one space. And so I think it's so empowering to like have that comfort level to go and be with people and talk about this. You know, people consider this still the most taboo topic and there we are in a sports bar, you know, with like
Yes.
with like 50 people just, you know, getting to know each other, talking things and sharing
And
stories.
when I would get up and go over to a table, I almost every single time it was someone sharing their story.
Yeah,
There's just a hunger to share the story. And if
there
it's
is.
with people with a similar lived experience, it doesn't feel weird or shocking,
Right.
because we're separate but equal. I think you said that.
Yeah.
The stories are so similar and so different.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Oh my goodness. So there was one session that I knew I wanted to go. It was the one with Sarah, Sibling Aggression and Abuse Research Advocacy Initiative. And I stood outside the door, and the session before it was packed. And I heard
Mhm.
that the session before it was even more packed. So this was the clinical tract. And there
Right.
were therapists in there and educators and CAC workers. And I tell you what, and you told me that you've experienced this at other conferences. People are hungry to know all the details of this particular issue and how to care for people um, that may cross your path.
Yeah, I hear that a lot too. And you know, there typically haven't been a ton of resources for this specific part of child sexual abuse, but now there are, which is amazing. I mean, I know like Jane tells a story of like trying to find anything and she couldn't, you know, way back when, so she created it, and there still is a huge gap with resources for this. But I just want to mention, you know, our class. So we kind of found that it's frequently like asked of us, like, well, where can we learn more about this? Like, is there a class? Is there a book on how to prevent it? Is there, you know, a book or a class or any information on like what to do if this happens in your family? Which I don't think I do believe our class is the first one that covers the
Yes.
prevention piece and what to do if this happens in your family for
Yeah.
the survivor child and for the child who was harmed. So, I mean, it's pretty amazing that we created that. And so that's a resource. So that class is called Raising Safe Siblings. And that's
Yes.
another a thing we shared at the conference with people, because I really think you can't have enough resources. And I can't remember the statistic. Was it that 70% of clinicians feel like they're not adequately prepared to handle this type of?
It's at least that. It might be more.
Yeah.
Kimberly, I was goofing around on Canva and I came across our PowerPoint slides for all 8
Oh,
modules.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I just went to the prevention module. We have 29
29.
best practices,
Yeah.
strategies.
I
Like
know, right?
these are huge. I mean, it's huge. Like that's worth um the cost of the course right there.
Yeah,
Okay. Yes. One thing that I loved, and we covered in our course about the Sarah breakout session, is the fact that the conference was on sibling sexual trauma and abuse. But what people have to know is that there's other kinds of sibling harm. They can be
right.
psychological, emotional, verbal, and they can be physical, just bullying, just hateful meanness. And so I on the conference like evaluation, they're like, what do you want more? I'm like, I want more content from Sarah, because
Yeah,
we had so many sessions. We had to give some people little baby 20 minute slots. And I
right.
wanted Sarah to have a much longer slot there.
I think so.
Um, okay, so here's a big one.
Okay.
Um, as much as survivors of SSTA hurt, my Lord, their parents.
Mm.
I know that you were in a different session when I went to the parent panel. I literally sat there and wept. My goodness, a survivor, a survivor came up to me and said, "Do you need a hug?" And I'm like,
Aw.
"Oh my gosh!" I was so moved. I was so moved. And on the topic of parents, it
Mm.
was it was announced at someone's vendor table. There was a family that presented 3 times. The survivor presented, the parents presented, and then all 3 of them presented, but it was in the same slot as you and me
Yeah,
and
so we missed
Sharia
it.
and Colleen. They are creating a parent resource. It's called Safe Harbor, and I would love for you and I to have them on to talk
Oh,
about what they're
yes,
going to do,
we
because the
should.
father became a licensed professional counselor because of what they walked through, and the mom has done all these trauma informed certifications, and
Oh,
so
great.
they are going to literally Zoom with parents, like in the middle of it or on the backside of it,
Oh,
and
that's
just
an amazing resource.
yes, support them.
That is.
So one thing, and I think you had a friend there that this applied to, and I had a friend there that this applied to. I know there were 2. I don't know if there were more. Brothers aren't the only ones who harm.
Yes.
Brothers are not the only ones who harm. At least 7%, and we say this in our course, at least 7% of the cases that have been reported of sibling
Right.
sexual trauma and abuse are sisters. And let me tell you what, and I know a couple more that weren't at the conference. Sisters can be mean as
Mm.
heck.
Yes.
Oh my golly.
And that is the case with my friend, but also, I've talked to a few survivors not in the conference. And I think that statistic of sisters is so low because there's that stereotype that, like, oh, you're like, if you're a boy, you're supposed to be tougher or stronger than your
Yes.
sister, or like, oh, your sister's just messing around. She wouldn't do that. There's so many ways people dismiss that type of
Yes.
complaint when it comes about a sister. And that's the same thing with child sexual abuse in general. We
Yeah.
find that the statistics say like boys are more likely to be the abusers than girls, but we truly don't know the real statistics because it is an underreported situation in general. So I'm just so glad to like see people talking about it. And I do think, somebody like PJ would be able to really bring more awareness to it, which is great.
Yes.
We do just need to focus on awareness and education
Yes.
across the board. So,
Yep. Yeah, so that's everything that I had on my list that just came to me when we said we need to jump on and do a
yes,
like a debrief from the conference. But
I know. It's
oh, it
great.
was like my one of my favorite things was seeing you again,
I
because you're in Connecticut and I'm in West Virginia. So
know.
that just was yeah, it's always good to be in your presence doing
Oh,
this work. Doing
it's always good energy. And I
And the
think,
Sapria ladies, who you know way more than I do.
oh,
I
yeah,
got to
they
spend
were
time with
amazing.
them because they did the wellness room, and they
Yeah.
were there in case anyone was triggered or just having a hard time. And they
And there
were put to work.
there were a few people that, and I was on the wellness wagon too with them, and we did have a few people that were triggered, and they were parents of survivors, and it's tough,
Oh,
but and I wish I could have gone to that session about the panel that you were talking about, because you think about when this happens and then parents are taking action and they're trying to help their children, but do they ever get help for themselves?
right,
Ever get therapy?
right.
Imagine the guilt. Like,
Maybe if a CAC, but I've literally had 2 CACs said, we don't know what to do with this,
yeah,
because the person causing harm is a child. Like sometimes
right.
law enforcement kicks it out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so hard.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
so
so
tough.
hard. Yes. So,
So
yeah.
before we sign off, let's think about like hot mic 5 seconds.
Okay.
Best organizations to follow on this, besides, of course, 5WAVES,
5WAVES.
Incest Aware. What
Yeah,
else?
it was great to see them. Sarah, um, and yeah, I can put these in the show notes.
Yeah, let's
Supriya,
put it in the
yeah,
show.
Supriya.
Yeah.
There's SSTA Aware by
Okay.
Colleen Maloney.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like 10 memoirs on the topic now. There's a whole bunch of them.
Okay.
And I think they're all listed on the 5WAVES site. So you can
Oh,
go and
great.
check those
Okay.
out.
So we'll add this to the show
But
notes.
yeah, 5WAVES,
Perfect.
Sarah, SST aware, incest aware for sure, Cypria for sure.
Maria. Yes.
Yeah, they're talking about like darkness to light. It's not on their their radar yet.
Mm.
A lot of organizations haven't, taken the step into either incest, family harm, or SSTA. But yeah,
It's the next step.
in our course, I think it's the best starting place
Yes. Oh, yeah. And I
in Brad
should
White's
mention
book.
that course is over on
Yes.
toughtopicsmom.com. And you just click on the tab that says online classes, and then you would go to raising safe siblings. And we have one free module, which is basically like a great introduction. Can't go wrong. It's free. So check it out.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
Diane. Well, thank you for jumping on, and
Okay.
we'll chat soon.
Yes, we will.
All right. Bye, everybody.